when you were a guest on the podcast, I sort of knew back then. I was like, I got to do a live series with Emma to dive into the topics that I selfishly want to know about for my own social media. So, for the guests who don't know who Emma is, she is the founder and CEO of 95 Media, a company that provides results driven digital marketing strategies to help businesses and brands scale without stress. Her clients have been featured in Forbes, Better Home and Garden, HDTV, Vogue, and the Wall Street Journal, just to name a few. That is my official Beyonce intro for you, my friend. First thing, we're going to dive in with a confession. I have not been on Instagram stories for about a month. And after chatting with you, I mean, this is terrible to admit out loud, but I just got to keep it real. I feel like I've missed out on opportunities to connect and grow. Like my following right now stands at a solid 50. But I'm just now, after having chats with you, like starting to really dig into what I can improve with my strategy, the things I need to be doing on a consistent basis. Last time we spoke, you said something really great, which is, think of Instagram stories as your own personal reality show. So I would love to start there with you. Why is it important for any business or brand to have a presence and create consistent content for Instagram stories?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I love all of our chats. We always get into some really good stuff together.
We do.
Yes. So Instagram stories are a really powerful tool and honestly one that is so underutilized. A lot of people think content and they think about their feed, but they forget that not everybody consumes feed content on Instagram. There are a lot of people who log onto Instagram, just watch stories at the top of their home screen, and then get right back out. So no matter how you consume content, you have to be thinking about how do other people consume content because it's not really about us at all. It's about our target audience. And so when it comes to Instagram content or Instagram story content, it's 24-hour, right? It only lasts for 24-hour. And what's so cool is that it's low risk because it's only there for 24 hours. If you, for some reason, somehow mess up and post something that's not your best work, then great. Then it goes away in 24 hours. And because of that, it's a really great place to experiment. So you can try new formats, you can test new ways to present your brand, new messaging that you're playing around with, and see how your audience reacts to it. But what's really great about that is you have those engagement stickers. And so you get people to engage with that content directly, to click through links. And when they reply, it starts a DM conversation with you. The DMs are where all the money is. And so if you can get people starting conversations from your stories, you are 10 steps ahead of someone maybe who's posting every single day to their feed, but comments are not converting to conversations. The DM replies are where those heavy hitter conversations are going.
Now that you've been doing this journey for your clients and doing it consistently and successfully for a while now, what, over 9 years at this point?
Yeah, 10 now.
10 coming up. Congrats.
Well, and stories didn't even exist when I started. Like that wasn't even a strategy people used. So it's really cool to see how they've evolved because it has been, a very different landscape back then to where we are now.
Changing at a rapid pace. Can you give me some examples? Because I feel like that's where I'll speak for myself. I get stuck is figuring out does it have to always be me talking to the camera? Can it be a quote? Can it be a day in the life shot of Ken pouring coffee, which I experimented with and got some good engagement yesterday? So what are some examples of content pillars that you've seen have been working really well for you and maybe also the clients you're working with?
So I would always lean into behind the scenes on your stories. That's where you get to be more raw, less edited. You shouldn't really be spending time editing down a video for your stories. That feels weird. I've seen people do it. And when I consume it as the audience member, I'm like, this doesn't belong here. This is the wrong place for this type of content. So it's important to be cognizant of the type of material you're posting in each avenue of your marketing. With stories, it's post those short little behind the scene clips. It certainly does not need to be all you talking to the camera. I'll give you one example that is that's working really well at 95 Media. Obviously, we have different strategies for each of our clients, but we recently went through a whole restrategization of our stories for 95 where our story views were lower than we wanted them to be. They weren't very engaging. We had just kind of gotten off track from where we wanted to be with them. And so we started this whole new idea where it's not feasible for me as the founder to get on stories every single day, but
Nope.
is it feasible for me to record story slides in advance for at least one day a week? Yes. And then another day of the week, we can have a team member get on stories. So, okay, now we have 2 out of 5 weekdays already checked off. What are we doing for the other three? And in my brain, it's just kind of like checking the boxes. Instead of trying to figure out every single day, let's plan ahead. Let's create a pattern that you can then follow. So for those other few days of the week, what we're now doing is taking B-roll. So whether it's a video or even just a really simple photo, whether it can be from something that I've been doing or that the team is submitting. We're asking for our team to submit B-roll content now. And we're utilizing that as background images to put engagement stickers on top of. What I mean by that is we'll do like a poll or we'll say like, oh, is this a hot take or is this something that you agree with? And the background image is like me on the marina in Boston from a couple weeks ago when I was there on a trip, but no one knows that. So we're utilizing it now as the background of a story rather than just a like plain colored background. Which one's going to be
Mm.
more engaging? It's going to be the photo because it feels like it's in real time. It feels more authentic, and you're kind of wondering, like, oh, like what's next? Like, where are they? What else am I going to see of that experience? And you're captivated by the engagement stickers as well. So it's like a multifaceted, layered approach, but utilizing the B-roll as part of that is the key. So I loved that coffee making video you did. It could have been used on stories. You used it in a reel. It could be repurposed for stories. There's just so much you can do when you have B-roll that shows a little bit more behind the scenes than you might think is even relevant to your audience.
This is fantastic. I have a total newbie question.
Yeah.
Can you define, I should know this, but I don't. What is an engagement sticker? Is it like the things that you can click on Instagram that like temperature,
Yeah.
date, location? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
it's really any of those. I would say like temperature and date, really, those aren't engagement stickers, but like the engagement ones are like where you have the two boxes like yes or no, and then you can edit what people select.
Like a poll or a select.
Yeah,
Got it.
the
Okay.
slider bar, the question box, the like multiple choice questions, anything that people can interact with, that's an engagement sticker on stories.
Got it. So I think I figured that one out. Next question. To go deep into maybe some behind the scenes with your business, stuff that's working for you. When you get engagement with the stickers, how do you translate that engagement in terms of the data and the strategy? Like what happens after? Like, is that helpful for you in terms
Yeah,
of tracking and response? How do you guys actually use that?
that's a good
If you're comfortable
question.
sharing.
Yeah, so
Like,
for us, what we're doing, and by the way, when we changed this engagement strategy or the story strategy, we doubled our story views in 1 week. So like it was an immediate impact to our stories, and now our goal is okay, now we have more eyes, let's get more clicks. So it's kind
mm,
of like you have to tier your expectations and your goals whenever you implement something new. But for us with those engagement stickers, say the question and the poll was like, how many times a week are you posting stories? And someone might say 0 or 1 to 2 days a week or, 3 to 5. Depending on the answers, then we can send a DM to the person who engaged and ask them more questions to see if we might be of service to them to help them be better at X, Y, and Z that they've engaged with. So it
oh,
kind of
okay.
starts the conversation. Be like, hey, I just saw you engage with this poll. You're only posting once a week. Like, hey, is it because of content? Is it because of your time? Just would love to learn more about your experience with stories. And it not be a sales conversation. It's just kind of like, tell me more. Like, this is so interesting. Or if they're posting 5 times a week, like, congrats, that's amazing. How do you plan out your stories in advance? It's all about getting to know your audience because whether or not you end up selling to them, the information that they share with you, you can then turn into more content down the road because now you know more about them and what is happening in their life. So you just turn that into more content to speak directly to that person.
That is such a brilliant move. Like right now, I'm in this big phase of just repurposing everything. And quite honestly, it's really been because of our conversations where I'm like, I need to be up on YouTube. So we'll talk about YouTube in a minute. But what I realized was looking at the different platforms, one transformative thing that you really shared with me, this is me giving you props blatantly, was how I was stuck between figuring out where I can realistically be in terms of like the platforms. And I realized you don't have to be in all the places at once.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to stay on track with the IG stories narrative. But the question I have goes, it's aligned with IG stories as well as how we show up online. For you, have you tuned into how, I'm assuming you have at this point, how you want to show up online, specifically on IG stories? And what have been some of the things you've done to help figure out that sort of content engine as a business owner? Like, do you have it all dialed in? Is it like scale, like mapped out a month in advance? The farthest I've gotten is a week of content prep. Like,
Yeah.
what has that journey been like for you, and what's really working in terms of the content you're creating on Instagram stories? That's a huge question. Let me know if you need me to rephrase it.
Yeah, no, good question. I think for me, it's so difficult whenever you're like in an industry, you see everything and you want to implement everything. Like when I was in my first career of interior design, my apartment was like a white box because I was like, everything's happening. I don't know what trend I want to jump on. Like I can't commit to a sofa right now. Like I know I'm going to want the next big thing. And now being in marketing, it's so similar where we do something and then honestly, like every 6 months, we tear it all down and we start something completely new because there's so much we could be doing. We change our own marketing strategy more than any other, any of our
Yeah.
clients. But with our stories in particular, it's really interesting because Instagram stories was actually how I started showing up for 95 Media more than anything. I've referenced my interior design career quite a bit, but like I started 95 Media when I was working as an interior designer full time in Manhattan, directly post grad. And I was trying to figure out, do I want to do design? Do I want to do marketing? And so the Instagram I created for this business was such a hot mess because I would show like behind the scenes of me on like a job site for the design projects I was working on. And then I'd come home and be working until midnight and get on stories and talk about content marketing. And it was just all over the place. But I deeply believe it was showing the journey and bringing the audience along on the journey in like the messy middle of it that ultimately
Mm,
led to so many conversions in those early days because I was so tuned into our audience because it was just me. If you have the like honor of being the only one in your account, I would say like lean in as much as possible because that if I could spend more time in here, it would be in our Instagram. That was where we got almost all of our early day clients. In fact, we have one client that I sold through our Instagram stories who's with us 5 years later today. And it's
wow.
because of stories and the relationship that we built on from stories in DMs and going back and forth. So today, my Instagram strategy for stories looks different. I don't have the time to be on it every single day as much as I wish I could.
Mm.
And so I pre-record stories once a week, or they're posted once a week. I typically batch them out for a few weeks in advance because then that plays into the greater strategy. And as our company has grown, it's not just about me. So if the company is about you and you are the only face of your brand, even more of a reason to continue showing up as much as you can. Right now, it's important that we have our team show up because that's who's serving our clients. It's not the Emma show, as I don't like, we're trying to lean away from that as much as humanly possible because it's not a realistic representation of the brand. I think it's important as someone listening, if you are thinking about what your story strategy should be, it's so dependent on the messaging with regards to what you want your audience to know about your brand. Um,
Mm.
and how you want to present your company to the people who may be buying from you, because that's exactly who's watching your stories.
Thank you for going there. This is my follow up question, which is because as your brand and business evolves, obviously you can't be the bottleneck of content, right? As the CEO and founder, you need to be the CEO and founder.
Yeah.
What's for you as a CEO and founder like evolving your business up to like this 10-year mark and really hitting your goals? What's one key strategy you recommend for like a CEO and founder who is trying to take more of a CEO and founder leadership role without losing that connection with the audience? How do you delegate and strategize that work like amongst your team members? Because now it's this collective voice. Like, how does that work, and how do you keep that consistency going?
So we approach our account the way that we approach all of our client accounts. So there is one account manager and one community coordinator on our accounts. The account manager manages all content and strategy, and the community coordinator handles our community and our audience. So in the exact same way that we would for a client, I try to step back. I'm the worst client, trust me. Like I'm the worst one that our team deals with because I'm constantly wanting to change things. But similar to our clients, where if they have a lead come in their DMs, there's a certain point of escalation that we have with all of our clients. Like if they ask a certain question, or if they really want to go a certain route, a client might say, if they say X, Y, and Z, send that over to me or give them my email so I can continue the conversation. And that's what we do for our account, is at the same coin. So if a conversation turns into more of a sales messaging, I'm able to jump in. Our community coordinator lets me know, and I go in and I kind of nurture it in the way that I would like to be nurturing. That's probably not something I'll be able to do forever, but we have monthly meetings to go over our account just the way that we would for a client. And we approach it really similarly to just make sure that the account manager is really owning the strategy. It's not dependent on me, because that's not realistic for my time limits. And that we're moving the needle forward in the way that it needs to be for the account.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because you have to delegate the work and divvy it up amongst the team and to have all these systems in place. So now I have a question for the solopreneurs, creators, and personal brands who are definitely chiming into this. When it is just you, I've had this for the past, I don't know if this is accurate or healthy, but I've had this intention where for my content, I described like an MVP, a minimum viable post that I could do. So right now it's just me and like 1.5 other people in the company, but it's growing, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So I know I'll be in a different space in a couple of years from now. But when it is just you and you're trying to bootstrap something and you want to be impactful and you want to be consistent in terms of volume and consistency of posting on Instagram stories and also maybe reels, is there like a number you found, like a minimum sort of growth benchmark to shoot for when it comes to content that is like realistic? What do you recommend?
I mean, the word realistic is very, interpretive for everybody.
Yeah. It's subjective.
Subjective, absolutely. I'll not say what's realistic. I'll say what I know to be true with regards to data. So
Yeah.
a few years ago, posting 3 times a week was enough, and you could gain traction, you could grow, if you were posting 3 times a week, that was honestly like the main package that we typically sold to our clients at 95 Media. Today, 3 posts a week is maintenance. Like growth is really likely not going to happen at the rate anyone wants to see with 3 posts a week. So like a client or a brand who would be good to have 3 posts a week might be someone who's they're like going through a certain phase of business where they don't have new products coming out, or they're utilizing a different marketing channel and not utilizing Instagram as like their main marketing channel. They just want to keep presence up. It's just not what I recommend for anyone. The new standard is 5 posts a week to Instagram.
Got it.
That might sound like a lot, but if you plan and you batch, it can make it feel a lot easier. 5 posts a week, I would also recommend having about 50% of that be video content. So with 5 posts, you would do like 2 to 3 videos per week. And those videos are critical to your top of funnel to build that brand awareness and get new eyes on your content, because reels are pushed out to non-followers a significant amount more than photo content is.
Thank you for sharing this, because now I'm just thinking about all the stuff I'm not doing on Instagram that I need to be doing. This is a follow-up question about Instagram stories in addition to, let's say, reels. Let's say you got video content, like just pushed out 5 days a week. You found the content engine, it's working. Stories per day. How much to hit that growth metric? Like, what are we looking at per day?
I have less of a hard answer on this front, because with stories, you can post one slide where you're talking for a full 60 seconds, or you can post one slide as a graphic that you created. So it's really different in terms of the amount of content. I'll share that at 95 Media, in our social media management package, we include 3 story slides on every feed posting day. Meaning if there's a feed post going out, whether that's a video, a carousel, or a static post, there will be 3 slides of whatever type of content we've created for stories that day going up and being live for those 24 hours. Usually that's a mix of video, B-roll, graphic, moving element, engagement sticker. And so I would really kind of try and use it all on stories. And maybe you look at three as sort of like your minimum. It's a good place to start. But I will also say the more the better. Like there's really no cap on stories versus on your feed. I wouldn't recommend posting more than once per day to your feed. That's simply because the content
Interesting.
will start competing with each other. One will do better, and so that will be favored by the algorithm, and the other one will be like suppressed. So on stories, like post everything you have, and on feed, be a little bit more edited.
That's really interesting because I've been tracking sort of different thought leaders in the space of content. Some of them are like, I post 6 times a day on my feed. I'm like, first of all, how is that even doable?
Yeah.
Like as a
Well,
solopreneur,
let
but
me
like, I really
clarify
want to dive into this. Yeah.
because on TikTok, 6 times a week is, or 6 times a day is totally normal. So that's a really important distinction.
Oh,
Is
got
like
it.
over on TikTok, a lot of those big creators are posting like 3 to 10 times per day. It's absolutely crazy. It's an insane amount of content that I would say no one can really do on their own.
Yeah.
That's a lot to be doing if that's not your full-time job.
Hmm. Yeah.
But that's very different than over on Instagram. And so to clarify, on Instagram, don't post more than once a day to your feed, but on TikTok, that's normal.
It's different. See, this
Yes.
is key, like information in terms of the differences of platforms.
Yeah.
I feel like that also helps reduce my cortisol levels. Now I could just focus one post per day on
Yes.
Instagram and
Yeah.
then sort of hit up stories like, and look at this, like you mentioned, as your own personal reality show.
Hmm.
Another rookie newbie question for you. So I'm on Instagram with my personal, I've got my business, and I got my podcast.
Hmm.
What I've been doing as an experiment on my personal Instagram feed there, my low key strategy is to use it as an indirect way to share the messy journey of parenting, but also share my podcast and my business, like an indirect funnel. I don't get more than average of 200 views a day, but ever since I started posting kinds of like very niche specific content and saving from my other feeds posts on my personal feed, saving and then sharing it back and forth, even though it's me in all three different places. I did notice the algorithm, maybe Instagram's listening in saying, stop that, Ken. I did notice it actually helped with engagement. Like I went
Mm.
from 200 views to over 3,000 in about a
Wow.
week. So I was like, it could be the content or maybe it's something else. I don't know. But I'm actually really curious to get your thoughts on that. Like, if you have more than one Instagram feed, can you use the other one to leverage and share and like and comment? Or should you even share and comment directly on your own posts? Like, or is that cringe? I don't know.
No, I
Like,
don't think it's cringe. I think there's probably a lot of variables at play, so it's hard to say what exactly is happening with your account. But what we know is that when someone engages with a post in the early stages of that content going live, it tells the algorithm that people like it and more people should see it. So, for
mm,
example, if you're posting a video from your podcast page and within an hour of posting, your personal page and your business page have commented and saved and shared that post, it's telling the algorithm people love this. Like, keep showing it, keep pumping it out. So that's
mm.
likely what's happening is that it's just getting that early engagement punch, which is exactly what it's looking for to get it out in front of more of those non-followers to see your content.
This brings up another question. Are hashtags still as important as they were?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
hashtags really are. And I would actually, so there was a recent update announcement that Google is favoring and showing more Instagram content on the search feed, which is not a surprise and has been happening for a long time, but now it's made official, which is especially relevant because Reddit and Google made a deal last year, which is why Reddit has been showing up at the top of Google searches for the past
Mm,
year. And so if your brand, I could go down a whole rabbit hole about Reddit, but like if your brand is on
please
Reddit,
do.
you should be like blowing up. A lot of brands are investing in Reddit. We've managed Reddit for several brands. We're promoting on Reddit. Like there's a lot happening over there that no one's talking about, which is kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
now what's happening is that Google AI is essentially raking Instagram for keywords for content to now show up in more Google searches. A really
Oh.
great place to include those keywords are in your hashtags. So even if you don't talk about something specifically in your caption, you can
Mm-hmm.
still write it in your hashtag, and then that will be scraped by the Google AI and help you show up higher in Google searches for that type of search.
This is huge information because now we're gonna dive deeper down the rabbit hole. Because for selfish reasons, right? Like, here's why I exist: Instagram, LinkedIn, just started a Substack,
Mm.
and after my conversation with you, something you shared with me was transformative. Another shout out, blatantly, was I had this private WhatsApp channel, and you said something really amazing, which was like, it's not about how consistent you post or how engaging you are. Sometimes you just may not be on the right platform for what it is that you want to accomplish. And that helped me ultimately let go of the WhatsApp approach to building community and like lean more into Instagram and LinkedIn and more short storytelling on Substack. So like, for let's say a small brand, small to mid-sized brand, or like a thought leader or solopreneur who's building, wants to really build community and engage, like what are the must go to platforms to build that foundation and grow your audience, in your opinion?
Specifically for a brand who wants community, is that the question?
Community and growth. Like if you want to start getting DM sales opportunities, you want to engage with people, like what would be that foundation you'd want to
Yeah.
set?
So the biggest growth opportunity with regards to reach, not followers, is TikTok. So
Okay.
TikTok you is based on the For You page. And so people don't follow a lot on TikTok. A lot of the brands that we manage on TikTok, they have a really low follower count, but their video views are pretty high for the size that they are and for the like newness of their account.
Hmm.
That's the great opportunity over on TikTok. Obviously, with TikTok, you need to have a somewhat younger demographic, but I would say if you're targeting anybody between the ages of 15 and 45, you're good on TikTok. People think that TikTok is just Gen Z, and it's really, really not.
Okay.
So TikTok is great for growth. The comments are unhinged, so like put on your thick skin because it's a very different world over there.
Yep.
But it's community as well. People are looking for those unhinged comments because it's relatability. It's that really raw, different, wild kind of like, ooh, okay. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
people are looking for on TikTok. Obviously, over on Instagram, it's a bit more polished, and engagement is lower on TikTok, or sorry, on Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
But Instagram is foundational. So I honestly don't know a single business today that doesn't have an Instagram because that is where everyone is going as like their starting point. Even if you don't have a TikTok, you most likely have an Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say Instagram is foundational, and then you would kind of look at TikTok as your next step if growth is really a big priority for you. And I would also, I think it's really important to be said that social media can't build your entire brand. A lot of new founders think that they can throw money at Instagram, literally just organic, maybe a tiny bit of paid, and think that Instagram is going to be their entire business. And it's really hard to look at that. And we've had clients like that, unfortunately, where they thought that this was like their end all be all solution, and we did not know that this was all they were doing to build their business. And it's been really hard conversations that we've had to have because Instagram is basically an amplifier of anything else that you're doing. Social media is an amplifier of what else you're doing. But if you're not like going out there and talking about your business, like in your community, in networking groups, hosting webinars like this, providing information, like it's one avenue of the marketing pie. And my brain kind of like hardwires on this topic because I see it so often where people get so discouraged by Instagram or by social media as a whole and think it doesn't work for them when really it's doing what it needs to do, but you're not doing what you need to do as a founder and supporting it in performing at the highest level because you've put all your eggs in one basket when you don't own that platform. Like that platform could go away
Mm.
tomorrow. Those people are not yours. They don't owe you anything just because you're throwing thousands of dollars at it. So that's something important to keep in the back of your head.
Thank you. You're speaking to my soul right now. And I have three more follow up questions. Um, with this in mind, right? And this is the big thing most people don't realize is you put all your eggs in the basket and you're like, Instagram, go. However, you're renting the audience, you don't own them. So like, what is this next step? It's like, is it to have a killer newsletter, a link that invites to a Calendly to have a conversation?
Mm.
What are you doing specifically with your clients and with your own business that's really working to move the rented audience into the owned category?
Right. Well, that's exactly it. Our entire job at 95 Media is growing brand social media presence with content that converts. But the conversion doesn't happen on Instagram. Like it literally doesn't. So you're creating content that gets people to want to convert, but they have to take that next step, which means you have to get them off the platform. So once you have interest, once you have this audience, you have content that's getting in front of all these new people, there's basically, I mean, you kind of nailed them on the head. Either you get them on an email list because you own the email list. That's the
Yeah.
only list that you own. And
Yeah.
then you have to create content for your email list, which is where a lot of brands get stuck. Like, cool, like I have an email list, but then like, okay, when's the last time you sent an email? I
3
think
years
I
ago.
sent one in like Q1, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I had that one weekend without my kids and I sent out an email. So yeah,
That's me.
it's resonating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the email list is good if you use it, but if you're not going to use it, then I would either direct them to fill out a form on your website or to book a call with you if that's what your sales process looks like. Some brands, if you're like a product brand, you may just direct them to like the product page of your website, of course. It looks different for everybody, but I would always say getting someone onto your email list is the biggest metric that you really want to go for, because whether or not they buy in that moment, you still have their contact information to then upsell them or convert them later on through your campaigns. So you can't stay in touch with them off of social if they don't give you their email address. I would start there if I were you.
This is key. And I have this is the portion of the live series where Ken gets to ask all of his selfish questions. So, but it's valuable for everyone else to hear. What does it actually look like in terms of email content? Because this really is the next step. It's like you're nurturing a lead and you're developing a connection with a potential customer or client. How often do we need to send email where we bridge that gap between this person is annoying me with all these emails versus like, oh, this is really valuable? Like, how often and what kind of email content would you recommend that we start creating as founders?
Again, I really believe, and we do this across many different industries, but it's based on industry. So,
Yeah,
for
of
example,
course.
with product brands, you're going to have much more frequent email content because you have new launches, you have new products, and you have so many SKUs to feature in your emails. Versus if you're a service provider, you maybe have like 2 to 5 services that you offer. And so there's just not as much to talk about. And those are of much higher price points. So with a product brand, for example, we work with a fine jewelry brand and we send 2 emails a week for them. That's quite a lot, I would argue to say, but I also know many brands, and I'm on the receiving end of many brands who send daily emails. So it's very much dependent on industry, but I would say the most frequent content on email comes from product businesses. If you're in the service world, like you and I, then it's less frequent, but it still has to be consistent. So most commonly, we see service providers send maybe bi-weekly emails. So that would be every other week, which is 2 a month. At the absolute maximum or minimum, I would say 1 email a month. But with that, what can start to happen is that there's so much space in between your emails, even though it might not feel like it to you, but it will feel like it to the consumer, that people may forget that they're on your list. And then when you land in their inbox again, they're like, the heck, I didn't sign up for, like, I don't want that email. I'm just going to get off this. I'm going to unsubscribe. And so the consistency and the frequency can help you actually retain your email list. When you think it might repel people, it could actually be the very reason people stay.
Oh, I have 20 more questions, but I want to be respectful of your time. So I'll open it up really quick. 5 seconds. Anybody on this call have a question for me or Emma? Type it in the comments. No pressure, no rush. As someone's thinking about it, I have a couple more questions for you. AI, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Like, there's all this stuff going on. I just heard this. YouTube recently announced that if you're creating AI content on the platform, it is no longer monetizable. And I have this prediction that people at some point, whatever platform they're on, with AI generated content, people are just going to start to get bored and be like, just show me real, authentic human voices, please. what do you think is so key right now, especially for the founders, the solopreneurs, the business and brand owners out there? Like if they want to establish themselves and really get their unique voice out there and amplify it and connect with their people, like what is the most important thing they can do right now to differentiate themselves in this like sea of AI sameness and like everybody jumping on trends? Like what's the big thing? Please riff on that with me. That's a big question, but curious to hear what you think.
Well, what I think is important to like note on a really high level is that right now, not everyone is super skilled in being able to identify what's AI and what's not. Even when it comes to copy, I think that's like the most common instance that all of us are seeing AI involvement in right now is people having AI like write their posts or write their emails or whatever. There are many people, myself included, where I can look at copy and I can know right off the bat if it's written by AI, like within zero point 0.5 seconds, and I'm not the only one. Your audience is smarter than you think they are. I think everyone
Mm-hmm.
needs to remember that. Like, you're not fooling anybody, and whoever you are fooling now is going to know it within the next 6 months. Like, it's just becoming too mainstream and it's becoming too much of the same. There's the
Mm.
same phrases, the same cadence, the same formatting, and everyone's looking the same. As you said, like, in a world of sameness, like, how do you stand apart?
Yeah.
So, that, like, copy is where it is now, but what is really even more scary is exactly what you said about YouTube with regards to visuals, where there are now ways to turn yourself into AI video where you don't even need to be on it, and it can take your voice and your cadence and pretend to be you. And while, again, I think that could fool some people, it's not going to fool anybody long term. And for the people it's not fooling now, you're actually repelling potential buyers earlier than down the road. So,
Yes.
like, I would literally do none of that. And
Thank you. You said it. Thank you.
like, I mean, what I think AI is really great for, I will say, is like strategy. Have it help
Yeah.
you ideate. Start at the like ground zero with it and kind of bounce off of it. Brainstorm, like whiteboard with it, get ideas and get like concepts, but don't have it execute for you because that's where you're going to lose you. And
Yes.
you are the only reason someone is going to hire you versus the person down the street who does exactly what you do. Nothing is unique about any of us in our businesses other than the people in the business. I think that's like a
Mm.
really unpopular opinion right now because everyone wants to think that like, no, like AI can do it and it's not because of me, but like it literally is you. And no matter how many jobs AI takes over or like I takes over in quotes because I don't think it'll fully take over anything long
Yeah.
term. Um, it's still the people right now. And I would lean into what makes you different and who you are at your core because as other people don't and as other people stay with AI and do those video generated things and don't edit their copy from AI, people are going to start gravitating towards you and away from them until they figure out what in the world they're doing and start pivoting back to what you've stayed true to doing.
Emma, like hearing this from a 10-year digital marketing veteran just validates so, and it puts away all the fears, you know. I feel like it's a really valuable conversation to have because I think there's so much uncertainty. But thank you for sharing this. We had a question come in from an audience member. I'm going to pop it up on the stream. What would you recommend for a doctor's office, private practice that is trying to use digital marketing? Currently, they have a good website with a blog. They also do not do any community outreach. Thank you, Shaban, for this question. Emma, any thoughts on this?
I have
Very
so many
specific.
thoughts. Yes. Well, it was a dental office, right?
Uh, Doctor's office, private
Doctor's office.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So with a doctor's office, there's a lot of different doctor types, right? So that would change how you approach your marketing and the messaging. But I know a lot of brands, a lot of doctor practices who are literally using social media to bring in psychiatry. Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so even with that, that's even more reason because usually psychiatry is like a private practice where it's maybe a couple of providers and so you're not this massive team where you can't even like feature everybody.
Yeah.
And with psychiatry in particular, that is you're working with one person, one on one.
Yep.
That person's presence on social could be exactly why someone converts. There's a really big shift happening from someone like Googling psychiatry near me or psychiatrist in my local area. They're not going to Google for it anymore. They're going to Instagram. They're going on the Explore page and they're putting those search terms into Instagram. And
Wow.
then going back to what I just said, even if they are Googling it, your Instagram is going to be something that pops up at the very top anyway. So, or
Hmm.
someone else's Instagram is going to pop up at the top of that search. So it might as well be you. I think that's an important hat to put on and realize that the social content is your discoverability. It's not really optional to look at whether or not that's going to help you convert your audience. It's like that could actually be what shows up in a search bar for you and lands you those clients, versus the next psychiatrist who's in your local area.
This is so. Thank you for sharing this. And again, these are very niche, industry specific questions. Before we dive deep any further, one final question. Taking into account, right, all the different industries that really need to have a presence on social media, like, is there any, if you could give any, like, foundational growth advice that you think is applicable to any and all industries in terms of their approach to social media, what platforms, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube, they would need to be on to just establish that foundation for growth? Like, what's one piece of key advice you'd want to leave for anybody that wants to grow?
I would say I'm going to say something that no one wants to hear, but that's my job is
Yeah,
to
please.
is to show up more than you think that you need to or that you should, and to record more video content than you want to. A lot of
Mm,
clients come to us and be like, well, I have like 5 videos in the drive. Like, why isn't that enough? And it's like, well, that's like 1 week of content. So if you really are, deep in the weeds of your own content planning, you'll see that. And I think that's a great place to start because you'll be able to recognize how much is really needed, be able to film the B-roll in between planning your content and know, okay, I need to keep showing up, because once you start doing that and you see the rewards come through, the conversations that you have, you realize, like, this is it. Like, this is where my time needs to be.
question that I thought of as you gave this response. This is great. Last thing, and I'll leave you alone. Go on with your day. For a let's say a business where the founder is growing and the bottleneck is becoming people want access to this person.
Mhm.
And there's a team, let's say, of 20 people in a business. I've seen this consistency with clients where the founder really wants to take a back seat and be the CEO and is trying to highlight more of their team, let's say, versus themselves as the thought leader within a business. What would you recommend? Is it time for that CEO and founder to sort of take a step back and maybe let the team highlight the team in terms of content creation? Or is there a balancing point where they can still continue to show up on social media, be a thought leader, and make sure the flow for the business goes to their team? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. Well, and I think in instances like that, the founder's time then needs to start going towards other formats of content. For example, start doing more podcast interviews. If you do a podcast interview, your team can pull 13 clips from that versus you sitting down for 15 minutes and trying to record a video in your office by yourself and then hating everything that you record. So I would put your time towards
Yep.
the things that like are going to yield the most results and establish you as the thought leader that you're looking to be, in ways that one single video on social can't. Because yes, you do need to highlight your team. It's not all about you anymore. People want to see who they're going to be working with when they hire the company. So in terms of like the pattern of your content calendar, maybe do like 2 to 1. So for every 2 posts of the team, you do one of you, or for every 3 posts of the team, you do one of you, instead of a 1-to-1 cadence, which it might be right now. And I would just look at
Mm.
your patterns for your content calendar.
Emma, this is huge. Now we're just going to close it out with a massive shout out for you. Thank you for transforming my business, for helping me accelerate through potentially years of being stuck on what to do on Instagram. Where can the audience find you? Where can they connect with you and follow up with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have loved this. I always love chatting with you, Ken. It's so
No,
fun.
same. This is great.
So we are most active on Instagram. Our handle is 90.5.media, NINETYFIVE. Media, spell it all out. For our website, it's 95media.co. And we have a podcast. It's Stop Scrolling, Start Scaling. I provide tons and tons of marketing information on that podcast. So it's a really great resource if you're wanting to just kind of take your education to the next step. But if you need that marketing support, if you're looking to outsource it, DM us on Instagram or fill out the form. It's in our bio or on our website to get in touch. And we'd love to see how we can help.